The Serger is a 1/4 inch, and this is just one that I had done just to show you as an example of what it does. These 2 threads are for the loopers, and the loopers are just that. There's one on the top and one on the bottom, and they catch the needle threads and make this wonderful little braided chain. And when you have your fabric in there, it has a knife that will cut off the edge, so you don't even really have to trim that great if you didn't want to. If you drew on your quilt where your seam line was going to be or where your binding line was going to be, you could even do it with your raw edges and stuff on there, and it'll just trim it right off. You get a nice little scrap pile at the bottom, and then you just throw that out. But
or save it for
It's more like dust.
Making it can be depending on how much you got. Yeah.
Please don't save them for Kara.
Good for Kara. So super. This one is a whole lot easier to thread. I had one years and years ago, and I swore you had to be an engineer from Georgia Tech to be able to thread the thing. It was really hard. And then when I went for training on this, they were like, "Oh, just tie it in a knot and pull it through."
Yeah, cool.
I do that on my long arm, and somebody taught me that when I first got my long arm.
I do that on my 10-needle embroidery machine.
Yeah.
Just tie it and pull it through, and there you go.
Everybody see that?
But I think that even the models that are above this, the Rabina I know has a air threading. So you put the thread and you just and it threads it through.
Oh my goodness.
Okay,
Wow.
cool. You can have different stitches, stitch lengths. You can do a rolled edge, and this pops open, and your stitch length and everything is controlled in there.
So there's no bobbin on a serger?
No.
Ah.
Oh.
No, and then you can change the width of the knife, and you can even take the knife up if you didn't want it to cut something. Like on your t-shirts, if you wanted to put an overlock edge over on that, you could take the knife off and then just run it through, and it wouldn't cut your fabric. So that's kind of another plus, another little feature on this thing. It comes with different feet. You can put beads on. You can couch. You can do ruffles. I've made dust ruffles and pillows with the little ruffles around the edges, and it does a nice even ruffle. You just change your stitch length and your tension, so it's super easy. It really is.
Sold?
So,
Can we put our name in a drawing for this?
yeah. So that's why I asked Jan. I said, "Do you have any Sergers?" She goes, "No, but I think I might get one." So, but you can see here. I'll pass this around too. I've added the binding on the back with this one. So what I normally do is I put it on the back. I'll sew the binding onto the back. Even make a mitered edge, a mitered corner. That's kind of the trickiest part, is getting that little mitered, that 45 degree. And some people do it different ways. And then I flip it around to the front, and I use my top stitching foot on my machine to put the machine binding on the front.
On your regular machine?
On my regular machine.
Okay.
I have a top stitching foot that has like a guide down the middle, and it's open in the back, so you can move your needle position depending on which way you're feeding your fabric in. And that guide in the middle stays on the edge of whatever you're sewing, so whatever you have here, it's a nice straight line.
Okay.
I have a brother machine, and it's the R foot. I don't know what it is on anybody, on other models or anything like that. But this one, like I said, you can see here where it's serged to the back, and then this one I finished on that side. So, and this is all scraps that I put together so I could do this little demo. And here is a chain that I cut off. You can get some long tails and long chains. You're not going to have it when you're binding. You're not going to have any exposed, so it's all going to be encased. Normally, when you finish something that you're serging, it's got the edges like this, and you have you've got to do something with that, or it's going to unfurl and unravel. So I take a big-eyed needle and thread it, and I just feed it back through inside there. And these stitches can be unpicked if you need to, if you get off, because you get off. In fact, I did with that one. I had to unpick it and do it again. So you just take your seam ripper and rip through the loopers, the looper, or the loops on the top, and then the needle threads are the ones that are down the center that look like you're sewing they look just like sewing machine stitches. So you just have to do that and then pull the others. I get a lint brush and do it and pull it all out at the same time.
So does the looper act like the bobbin would in a regular machine, sort of?
Sort of, yes.
Okay.
They cross over one another and they grab the needle threads. So yes, they create that link and pull it.
Okay.
And one of the, I guess, testiest things about using the serger is, if your thread gets off a little bit, is finding the right tension. And this machine has been just great because I haven't had, if there was a tension issue, it's because something came unthreaded or got hung up in the mechanism. There's a little screw that the upper looper thread is famous. If it gets the least bit of slack in it, it's going to loop around that screw and cause it to be off. The other thing about the maxi lock thread, if you've ever seen it at the store and think, oh, I bet I could quilt with that, you could, but the maxi lock specifically is made for serging, or if you see serger thread, you're like, what's the difference? It's a 40 weight thread. It's meant to work with the other threads. It's not as strong. It doesn't have the tensile strength, and it will snap more easily. So if you say, oh, that's only $2 a spool, that's why, because it's not really meant to do long arm quilting or piecing or anything like that with. It's more, it's made to work with the other threads, and that's where it gets its strength. It's got strength in numbers. So when they're all bound together, that's where it all comes together. So, oh, and here, tidbit, Dollar Tree hair ties make really good thread things.
Around
Yeah.
bobbins,
Yeah,
And I
around
use
bobbins.
them on my bobbins.
All right, so I've cut a 2 1/4 inch binding, and I put it on the back of my quilt, a little panel. I like to start down at the bottom. And I didn't bring my clips, but I normally clip it. And then I would make a mark, but I've learned, because I started doing that, and then I've learned that as I search through, stretches a little bit and the mark is not always accurate. And I can't see the quilt, so I just kind of have to guesstimate. I wing it.
Reasonable plan.
I just kind of wing it. So let's see how we do. So with now the serger will sew. It has a presser foot that goes up and down, and with the feed dogs on it, they go all the way out to the front of the knife, so it grabs it fast. So you could actually start it without lifting up the presser foot, but it will sew even with the presser foot up.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll do it, and which might be helpful if you're using something that has it's really super thick.
So that's probably why, you think?
Probably. If you do like leather, because it'll sew through anything. It's definitely, and it kind of sounds like it too. But I'm going right on the edge. I'm just kind of watching for my 1/4 inch. Now, some people have said they stop at a 1/4 inch. I've got a thread that is, but I am going to, my needle threads do acting funny. Probably from the ride in the car. I'm just going to turn it at a 1/4 inch. And so let it go. And just keep going. Turn it. Yeah, so I had a needle thread break, so I'm doing 3 needle instead of 4 right now, which is okay. And I would just take my then fold it up at a 45-degree angle. Fold it back down. Oh, that's not straight. Can you ever turn it? No, I use the clips.
Yeah,
I like the
you don't want to
clips.
use pins on the Serger,
Yeah, it'll mess up your
it'll
knife
mess
and
up
stuff.
that blade.
So I'm more of the, I like the clips too, and I'm gonna probably say something that's, when I press it and I turn it over to bind it, I glue it.
Yeah,
I
I
use
did
glue.
too.
I use glue. I use a glue
With
strip.
just fabric glue?
No, I use Elmer's.
Elmer's.
Oh.
It's water
'Cause it's
soluble,
washable.
it's washes out.
'Cause I'm
If
gonna
you
wash
just
it.
hit it with an iron.
Just make sure it's the one with the blue label that says washable.
Yeah.
There is more permanent options in Elmer,
Not like
and it's
epoxy or
not a
something.
happy accident.
Just use
Yeah.
the school glue.
Just
get my
school
card.
glue, and it's gotta say washable.
Yeah, and there's even one that's the glue sticks, and I've used the glue sticks before,
Yeah, I
but it's
have
kind of
too.
more economical to use the actual bottle.
It is.
The
You can get
sticks
little
too.
tips too, little
glue's
tiny, thin lines, tips to go
Yes.
on a glue bottle too, so,
But yeah, the sticks, some of them turn purple when they're
yeah.
The dollar store sticks, like
Yeah.
10 for $1, $1.25 now, but
yeah.
they work
That's
too.
inflation for you. I went to the dollar store yesterday,
I
and
know, right?
$1.25.
Yeah.
I said, dang.
But they work fine too, and they wash out.
There's my.
Does it gunk up your needle or?
No.
No? Wow. That's cool.
No, I glued it.
I use
You
them for
can-
English paper piecing.
You could dry it with your iron too, just like regular, like when you're doing applique, same thing. It dries and you're done. You don't have to wait for it to dry. Yeah.
And then I'm gonna put this down, and then I'm gonna start right at the corner, right where I left off. I'm only trimming off, I had this trimmed where I wanted it to, so it's literally just trimming off dust, the knife is, it's just a little, here I had just a little bit.
Oh, it does. Sergers make a lot of lint.
Oh, yeah,
If
yeah.
you think the sewing machine does,
Uh-huh.
yeah.